home run the Republicans. And let's be really clear. The only official codels that have had members come here from the House have been Republican codels with no Democrats.
Right.
So for the House of Representatives to have only approved codels for Republicans to come here to tour the prisons, to meet with officials is crazy. We should be allowed as Democrats in a bipartisan way to check, and not just on the welfare of Kilmar, but ensure that other people that are here are getting due process. We should be here meeting with officials. And yet, because they won't approve official codels, we're going to be here anyways. And we're proud that we're here. And more importantly, the American public need to understand that Donald Trump is defying the Supreme Court and the people here in El Salvador. We spoke to numerous press from El Salvador in English, in Spanish. We're obviously both part of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus as well. So it's important for them to hear in their language what Donald Trump is doing and to build pressure here on the ground to release Kilmar and others that deserve their due process.
And have you been able to make contact with Garcia? And also, can you give an update? Because the latest reporting that we have is that he was moved out of CCOT to a different prison. And so what was the significance of that move?
So we made an official request to meet with him to make sure he's okay. I mean, one of the people we're here traveling with is the lawyer of his family, that they want to know where he's at. They want to know if he's okay. They want to know what's going on. And so our request to meet with him was denied by the government. They said because it wasn't an official trip, which I guess hopefully if an official trip happens with more Democrats in the future, there'll be no reason for them to not let them see each other. But the other thing that we're finding is that there's a lack of information. We went to the embassy to speak with the staff there and the ambassador, and we left with the understanding that the Trump administration has not told the embassy to comply with the Supreme Court ruling at all. To facilitate nothing. And not even that, they don't really know where he's at, our embassy, which is very problematic when we talk about the fact that our Supreme Court, in a unanimous decision, has instructed the administration to facilitate the return of this man. So they are willfully flipping the bird to the Supreme Court, which also shows that we're in a constitutional crisis right now as well. So there's many reasons for this trip, but everyone should understand that this can happen to anyone if we don't stop it now. That's why we're here.
No, I just want to add one thing, which I think is really important, because we were obviously meeting with the ambassador today. And there's no question that the embassy has not begun any process to facilitate this release, which the Supreme Court has mandated. So that's crystal clear. They're defying the Supreme Court, to be clear. The second thing is we also understand that this is an issue that's bigger than just Kilmar, right? This is about due process. It's about the separation of powers. And it's about other people that are here in El Salvador that are essentially having no due process. We have a story which a lot of folks have covered about Andre Romero, a young man, 19 years old, a gay hairdresser, going through the asylum process, had an appointment for asylum through our own process that we approved, and then it's picked up and sent directly to an El Salvador prison. We have not heard from him, and his family has not, his attorneys have not. We just want to know if he is okay, if he's alive. We've actually asked the ambassador if we could get a wellness check or could see him as well, and we have yet to hear back, but that's also been one of our requests. And so there's a lot of things that we're working on here.
Right, it makes sense because, I mean, there are a lot of people on the right who say, oh, we're perfectly fine with immigration, but you just have to do it the right way. This is somebody who did it the right way and yet still was disappeared to a foreign gulag.
Right. That's exactly right.
I want to dig into the point you made just prior, because I think that's especially important, this idea that the Overton window shifts so easily with this administration, and we're seeing it happen to legal residents. And now we're finally seeing reporting that American citizens are being detained. They're being detained at airports. They're being detained at different ports of entry. And so have you heard of any of your constituents, for example, who are American citizens who are being detained? And can you just speak more broadly about this idea of enabling Donald Trump to do this now with no pushback, and what that will mean in terms of giving him the green light to do it to an even broader degree in the future?
Yeah, so we actually just had a situation like this happen in Florida, in North Florida. We had a person who is a citizen detained by local police for something completely unrelated. I think it was a minor traffic infraction. And then ICE issued what's called the detainer, which is essentially when the local police can hold someone. I believe it can be up to 24 or 48 hours for ICE to come pick them up. So they held this guy, and the family went to the court proceeding holding up the birth certificate. holding up the paperwork saying, look, he's a citizen. He was born here. What's going on? And the judge said, because we have some new laws in Florida that are horrible, we have some of the worst immigration laws in the country. The judge said, because of the law, we have to wait for ICE to get here, for ICE to tell us what to do. So it's the federal government, but we also can't take our eyes off the states that are there. It's a race to the bottom, and who can impress Trump the most to make the worst, most authoritarian, inhumane laws that even if you're a citizen and you get pulled over for having a tail light out or whatever it is, that you can end up being held up to 24, 48 hours for ICE to come and get you. And we heard about a similar thing happen in Arizona. It's happening across the country. This is why we're here. We're not here to be heroes. We're not here for any of that. We're here because we need to keep talking about it, protesting about it. Members of Congress, we need to do everything we can with the power that we have within our institution. The courts need to keep going. We can't afford to throw any part of the response out. Everything at full force all the time right now, because if we wait till it really gets out of hand, when citizens are being sent to foreign countries, when a congressperson can be like, I'm not trying to scare people, but this is what's going on in my state right now and in certain states across the country. And that's why we have to finish it now. We have to rise up now and make sure that doesn't happen again. And that's why I said we're the second batch of members here. Van Hollen really led the charge on this. We're following his lead. There's going to be more people coming. We've been talking with a lot of our colleagues. There's more trips.
And Brian, let me add one thing to what Maxwell said. It's really important that I know there's some are saying, some Democrats are out there saying that this is a distraction, or that perhaps we should focus on other things, and there are a lot of things to focus on. We can do all things at once. We can take on this injustice that is happening to Kilmore and others. We can take on Elon Musk and the billionaire class who are trying to rip off Americans. We can take on the destruction of our federal agencies. We can take on all these big issues at once, but we've got to be all in, and we've got to be in the fight. And being in the fight also means showing up and being wherever we need to be, including El Salvador, to stand up for our democracy and our values.
Right. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. And if we are not willing to go to bat, to go to the mat when we are talking about basically turning the U.S. into Russia, where the president can unilaterally disappear his political enemies, then I don't know what's fighting for if not that. So look, I appreciate both of you putting your own safety on the line, taking big swings here, and figuring out a way to make sure that we continue talking about this very important issue. So thank you both for taking the time today and for what you're doing in El Salvador.
Yep.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.